just before we start with this one then, have you ever been to court?
I've done jury duty.
Have you?
Yeah.
I've never been in court, and I've never been called for jury duty.
I've only...
Never been in trouble, I meant, when I say I've never been to court.
No. I got told off by a policeman once because I was eating chips. Remember in Old Swan? Remember, they used to have those big horrible concrete plant pots outside where the old Effelostons used to be, which is now the pound shop.
Yeah.
We were sat there eating chips and I threw me chip paper, and as a police car, he told me off, and I shit myself. I was like, I must have been about 12 or 13. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Gonna get arrested, yeah.
But I've done jury duty. Have you never done it?
I've never been called, no. I obviously know people that have done it, but no, what was it like?
Weird. I did 2 cases. They weren't big cases, and one we came back and not guilty, and one we just couldn't decide. And to be honest with you, the one we couldn't decide is we think the guy did do it, but the witness, my instinct was they exaggerated to make sure they went down, and then once that bit fell apart, we couldn't trust the whole thing.
Oh, right, okay.
Does that make sense?
So when was this, sorry?
About 5 years ago now.
Oh, so that recent,
it was in Liverpool, yeah, it was back in Liverpool. So it was like, I'm convinced the guy did it, but the witness, it just didn't add up. There was something that didn't.
So it's not as easy as you think.
My instinct was they elaborated to make sure they got done. Yeah. Does that make...
When I say it's not as easy as you think, what I mean is because we're talking about films and TV shows.
Yeah.
When you watch it on a TV show, it's like there's a bit where you go, "Oh, he's guilty."
Yeah,
Then the jury's gonna do it
because it's pumped into you. If you have any doubt, you have to go with the not guilty. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's just that's how it works. It was an experience. I wouldn't want to do it again, if I'm honest.
And I'm guessing the lawyers aren't like the one we're about to talk about.
Oh, no, do it, no. God, no. But when you're sworn in, you have to read this card to say that you're competent or whatever it is. And I was so nervous because the judge goes along the line, goes, juror number 1, juror number 2. And it was me, and I was about 11. So I was like, and I'm not an unconfident speaker in public. And I had the card I had to read out, and I completely ballsed it up. And he just went, juror number 11, can you read it out again to me? So by then I was like, oh my God, he's going to think I'm I'm either drunk or something. And I was like, I've never been so nervous in my life.
It's really? And you weren't the one on trial?
No. So it's the whole environment it's
intense, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It was an experience. But yeah, I wouldn't want to do it again. Hello and welcome to Watch It If You Can. My name is Liam.
My name's Dave.
This podcast is all about box sets we've created of our favourite films and TV shows. Some you've seen, some you won't, and others you may never want to watch. However, we can say if you've never seen a gangster film, we're going to make you an offer you can't refuse. All we want to do is chat on about these films and TV shows we love so dearly, and maybe, just maybe, you should watch it if you can. Dave.
Liam.
How are you?
I'm good. You?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a lovely sunny evening this evening, and we are lovely toasty warm in our little studio.
We were just debating about doing this outside at one point, weren't we?
We've been talking about it.
Future episodes maybe are going to be outdoors.
Live from the garden. We may not be able to control all the variables outside though.
And the animal noises, yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Both sides. I've got cats, dogs. There's family of pigeons in the tree.
And your own dog, obviously.
Edna, yeah. So I am in the host seat this week. So the question to get going, Dave, is what is it?
So this week, my choice is My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, yes. Let's go.
So have you watched this recently?
Yeah. Last night.
Oh, did you watch it last night?
Last night, but I did actually watch it only about 2 or 3 months ago.
That's what I mean. I wasn't sure if you were going to watch it again because you did say you'd watched it. So
No, I sat and watched it again last night. I thought, you know what? And then it was really, I was like sat there being really critical because I'd only just seen it. I was like,
making notes, yeah.
Making notes.
Sitting there with your pen and your light.
Yeah.
So for the listener, it's a 1992 comedy. It's directed by Jonathan Lynn, who is a British director. It's based around these couple of characters first that we're introduced to. We've got William Gambini, known as Bill, and Stanley Rothenstein, and they're basically two young guys from New York who are sort of unknowingly linked to a murder in a gas station. They get arrested. It's in Alabama. They're put on trial. So Bill contacts his cousin Vinny, Vinny Gambino, who's basically a lawyer. Technically not a lawyer, is he? He's been practicing to try and be a lawyer for like 6 years, I think they say, don't they? But he hasn't passed the bar yet.
No, I think he just passed his bar, but it took him 6 attempts. But he's only been doing accident claims litigation, so he's never been to court. So essentially, they contact my cousin Vinny, who arrives with his fiancée, who's got one of the best names, I think, in film, Mona Lisa Vito. And then the story then is just really about how we've got this sort of loud gangster city type guy up against this sort of small town Alabama court, the locals as well that are involved. The locals obviously think these two kids did it, so that's what the story's all about. I think we've had a few already. It's a fish out of water story, isn't it? With quite literally turn up in this little small town, and it's how the locals interact with these influx. They're all from Brooklyn as well, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Why is it your choice then this week?
So I do like courtroom dramas, and obviously I like comedies, and it's just a mix of both. It's the best of both worlds. You've got to appreciate that the courtroom stuff is really, really good. Yeah, isn't it? And obviously the comedy is really, really good. I like films and TV shows where it does unfold as it goes along. We do find out, things like, it can't have been the car that drove away. Yeah. We found out maybe some of the witnesses, come back to what you were saying on the intro, the witnesses can be a little bit unreliable, didn't really see what they thought they did. So that element of comedy and a courtroom drama, again, just a reason to pull me in. One of my favourite films is A Few Good Men, which links us back to director we always talk about every week, Rob Reiner. That's one of my all-time favourite films, and I generally do think the court scenes in this, although it's played for laughs, they are just as good as in a serious movie. So that's why it's on the list for me.
I think as well, although it's played for laughs, but it's not over the top. It's a lot of the humour is quite subtle, isn't it? Which I'm sure we'll now come into it a few little bits. But one of the things I like about the film is it doesn't mock the Deep South, which can sort of be open to.
No, he's the butt of the jokes,
yeah,
really,
it's
isn't
the opposite
he?
way around. But it's like, in the film industry now, it's easy to make jokes of the Deep South, and it's not. It's all about it. It's not crude. It is literally seeing the differences of two different culture classes mixing that as well. And also, I'm going to invent my own genre of film, and I'm going to put it in category as boss little movie.
It's a boss little movie.
Boss little movie. And I say that not in any detrimental way. It's one of them films that it's not a blockbuster. It's not a sequel. It's not like a money-making thing. It's not like whatever's going well. Remake. Something did well, we'll do another one of them. It's not a vehicle for a director or a star. It's one of them boss little movies that you've got a script that's come along, a director, producers and actors that obviously go make a boss little movie.
And not a big budget either.
No. So and I think there's a few of these.
Yeah.
I think Stand By Me almost falls into that category as well. Do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna take that. I'm streets ahead. Do you know what I mean? I'm just streets. I am going to say that's my new genre. It's a boss little movie because it's exact. I was trying to think what it's courtroom, it's comedy, but it's not. It's a boss little movie.
So if there was a section in Blockbusters, we could have a boss little movie corner.
I feel like it would be more in the video shop. Remember we were saying about the shelf round the corner we get 4 for £1 of boss little movies. The shelf of boss little movies. It's like that's what we want. All right then. So who's in it?
So first of all, we got Joe Pesci plays, the Vinny that's in the title, Vinny Gambini. Sorry. Everyone knows Joe Pesci. What we were just talking about before, and what we didn't realise is how late he was coming into acting. So 33 before he was in his first proper film.
We had a little look back at his history. He was a hairdresser and a barber initially, which is what his mum did, and then he sort of knocked around a few bands, which I never knew that. He was a guitarist, which I was like, oh, I never knew that. And then he got into comedy as a duo, which then led to acting. And so he didn't really... His big hit, first big hit, Raging Bull, was, I think he was nearly 40 by the time.
He must have been, because he was 33 in 1967.
Yeah.
So Raging Bull's not too far after that, everyone. So he played Joey in Raging Bull, obviously played Nicky in Casino as well.
And Casino always gets forgotten about because of, you think of Scorsese's body of films, and it's a great film, and if he never made Goodfellas, it would be one of the best films ever made.
Yeah, you're right. It's sort of overshadowed a little bit, isn't it? Probably doesn't get talked about as much. No. I mean, he has done comedy before because he's Leo Getz in the Lethal Weapon movies, isn't he?
I love him in there.
Something else he was in Moonwalker, the Michael Jackson movie, which was an odd film at the time. I think everyone will definitely know him as Harry from Home Alone.
Yeah.
But obviously our recommendation's got to be the one that you mentioned there. It's the film he's won the Oscar for, and he won the Oscar for Goodfellas while he was making this, because apparently he took the Oscar onto the set because he literally won it. But yeah, Goodfellas is definitely the recommendation with Robert De Niro. Marissa Tomei is in this as Mona Lisa Vito. She is linked sort of to our first episode because she's in War Inc., which is the sort of semi-sequel to Grosse Pointe Blank.
Remember I was looking at that where we mentioned that one, yeah.
She was in Chaplin with Robert Downey Jr. She was in The Wrestler, which was a big surprise hit, probably a boss little movie.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke,
yeah. I've got that on my list here.
But I think most people know her right now for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
She plays Aunt May to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I really like, although this was a massive flop at the time, Oscar with Sylvester Stallone, which is like a farce comedy.
Oh, no.
If you've never seen that, I'll probably have to watch it again. I used to love it at the time, but it was a big flop. But my recommendation is a recent one, King of Staten Island with Pete Davidson and Bill Burr.
Oh, I haven't seen that one either. I've got two down. One I've mentioned before, I just love the film. It's a Michael Connelly novel, The Lincoln Lawyer, the Matthew McConaughey film. Yeah. She's brilliant in that. I love that film. That's a boss little movie almost. Also, The Paper with Michael Keaton.
Yes, she is, isn't she?
Yeah, that's a great film.
And I love Michael Keaton as well. Yeah, I didn't
so there's almost a sort of Spider-Man link there as well.
Yes, true. Yeah, both in that.
Yeah.
Ralph Macchio is William Gambini, Bill Gambini, as he's more referred to in the movie. Everyone knows him from Karate Kid, obviously now from Cobra Kai, which is huge on Netflix.
I can't believe how big Cobra Kai is, but it's boss.
I remember it being out on YouTube.
Yeah, it was
and I never watched it because I thought
it passed me by.
I just thought it's going to be really low budget, and I thought it was going to be like little, maybe 10-minute episodes or something. It wasn't until it come on Netflix that I really watched it.
It's weird because I eventually plumped to watch it is because I'm a big fan of How I Met Your Mother. and I've watched that whole through, and I rewatched it again a few years ago, and one of the episodes is there's an episode where Barney's take on films is completely different from everyone else. He sees the bad guy as the good guy, and he talks about the whole plot in Karate Kid. And it's exactly what the plot in Cobra Kai is, where it spins it on its head.
Johnny's the good guy.
And then he's in it as well. Johnny's in an episode of it later on as playing himself.
You mean Ralph Macchio's in it?
No.
Oh, Johnny's in it as well?
Yeah. He plays himself because he's a hero of Barney's. He knows the baddie in the film.
Right. So I didn't realise. I knew Ralph Macchio didn't Ralph Macchio in it as well?
I think they've both been in it, yeah. But I think there's so it finally convinced me. So, and I remember watching an episode and thought, that is. And I went and then I watched it. And in the end, me and Jackie watched. I think by then it was already 2 or 3 series on Netflix, and we absolutely loved it. It's like utter rubbish, but amazing at the same time. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
like a drama, like a Hollyoaks drama.
Yeah.
But it's so good, isn't it?
Oh,
everyone
my God.
that's in it's so good.
Yeah,
we binge watch the series as soon as they come out. So.
But it's like a soap opera.
Yeah.
But on steroids, and it's just I love it.
It's great. So yeah, obviously he's Daniel from Karate Kid. He was in The Outsiders, which was with Tom Cruise, Rob Lowe, and Emilio Estevez. Emilio Estevez from
Young Guns. Young
Guns. Another link back to another episode that we've done. He was also on Broadway with Robert De Niro. He did Cuba and His Teddy Bear in 1986, apparently. So there's a little bit of a link there then to Joe Pesci and the De Niro link. Mitch Whitfield, who plays that. Oh, sorry.
I'm just going to come back, and I've mentioned this film before with Rob Macchio. He's in a film called Crossroads, where he plays a classical guitarist who's obsessed with the blues, and basically the part of the film is he sells his soul to become a better guitarist and all that, and that's written by John Fusco, who wrote Young Guns. He wrote Crossroads, really? And then the next film he wrote was Young Guns. So it was just like when you said it, I was like yeah. But my mission in life is to tell everyone to watch Crossroads. It's completely forgotten about. And it's great.
I don't think I've seen it, or if I have seen it, I certainly don't remember. I probably would have at the time. He's got a book out at the moment, hasn't he? He's got a biography that's just come out, so that'll be a good read. So Mitch Whitfield plays Stan, and he's one of the accused alongside Ralph Macchio. He's done loads of voice work. Yeah. Apparently, he was the voice of Donatello in the Turtles 2007 video game.
This is coming a bit of a theme with actors we've picked.
Loads of voiceovers.
Especially Turtles as well. I think there's been about 4 or 5 different series as well, hasn't there?
I think he did Transformers as well. I'm sure that was on the list.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but one of the newer versions.
He's in an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but what I think everyone known for is he's Barry in Friends, isn't he?
I didn't realise it. I suddenly got onto it today.
So he's the one that, Rachel sort of left at the altar. And Rachel, played by Jennifer Aniston, who was in The Iron Giant.
Oh, I didn't even...
Another link to a film we've already done.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah. And then we've obviously got the judge, Fred Gwynne, who was Herman Munster. Will, I think you've got to be a certain age now of our listener to remember Herman Munster, because that seemed to go off the TV like when we were, just as we were becoming teenagers, I think. Yeah, I don't know, did Channel 4 lose the rights or something? I don't know,
it used to be on a lot along with the other one, the Beverly Hillbillies or whatever. There was that black and white.
Adam's Family was on at the time as well.
And actually, I'm sure there was only 1 or 2 series of it, but it seemed to always be on.
Yeah, when we were kids on Channel 4, if you turn on the telly at any time, it was on, but it just seemed to drift away, didn't it?
Yeah.
And I had never even noticed it on other channels. It probably is somewhere, but...
Now, I didn't know he was a big Broadway singer.
No, I didn't know.
He did a lot of Broadway and stuff. I was like, oh... Because he's got a very distinctive voice, very baritone, I believe.
Another show I've never heard of, because I don't think it come across here, but Car 54, Where Are You? He was in 60 episodes of that, which I think was a big American kind of sitcom. I don't think we got it here. I don't remember, but he was in Pet Sematary in 1989. That's my recommendation, which is a Stephen King story.
Oh.
Which is a link. Obviously, we've done Stand By Me. And then just a quick touch upon the director. So Jonathan Lynn is a British director. He did Yes Minister. Again, a show that was kind of on when we were kids, wasn't it? He did Nuns on the Run. And he did Clue, which is just a great film. I think Clue is available on Disney. You should definitely check that out. And he did a couple of other sort of films with big Hollywood stars in, Whole Nine Yards with Bruce Willis, and Sergeant Bilko with Steve Martin.
Okay, well, I was meant to be working this afternoon, so I spent a few time on IMDb. I just went down to support and cast a little bit on this because it was just... I went down to that little rabbit hole sometimes. So, Jim Trotter, who played the prosecutor, Lance Smith, he's got one of the faces. He's been in Clueless, and he was the other coach in the Mighty Ducks.
He was, yeah.
And of course, who else was in Mighty Ducks?
Emilio Estevez.
Okay, and here's the even better one. He was in The New Adventures of Superman with Dean Cain for the whole. He was in the whole series.
Oh, he was the news guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, and Dean Cain is the stepson of Christopher Cain, who directed Young Guns.
Oh, so another link to a previous episode.
I remember says even like it's all roads back to Young Guns. There's something about Young Guns. There's an epicenter of everything. And then I was going through the guy who played Sam Tipton, who was one of the other witnesses. I was like, I know his face, and he's done loads and loads of stuff. But I remember him from Twins, the Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito film, which do love. And obviously, Danny DeVito's got a bit of a link back to a few of our previous episodes. And also, and just by chance, because I'd only watched the film the other day, John Gibbons, he was in Beautiful Mind, that I've just watched.
You recently watched, yeah.
And George Wilbur.
Is he the sheriff?
No, he played the scientist who come in and initially did the...
Oh,
the,
yeah.
So, I'm surprised he didn't get on this, Dave. So, he's been in... that's James Rebhorn, his name is. The character's George Wilbur. He was in Carlito's Way, going on a gangster film, another gangster film. He's also been Scent of a Woman, Meet the Parents, and he's also appeared in 30 Rock.
Oh, has he?
Yes.
So people should definitely watch 30 Rock.
Yeah.
You've deep dived there, haven't you? I just picked out some of the key players, but you've had a proper deep dive.
I was like, I had a lot of work to do this afternoon, so I did none of it instead, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I just love I went in.
You can't get lost on IMDb, can't you?
I love it. All right, then, so that's the cast, and it's a great cast, but what about favourite character?
For me, it's got to be Marissa Tomei. It's got to be Mona Lisa Vito. Marissa Tomei won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. I just think her character she's smart, she's funny, she's underestimated. What's weird about her Oscar win, which I don't remember at the time, but there was a rumour that Jack Palance read out the wrong name. Yeah. And apparently it was just a rumour and it wasn't true. You know, the only time we've seen that is with La La Land. Remember
and it got correct. Apparently they've got a system in place if ever that happens, which happened then.
So I don't know where that rumour started. She won it and she deserved to win it. She's brilliant. In the film they've got this kind of agreement that they'll get married once, he's won his first case. So she wants him to win more than anyone in the whole film, but she does feel helpless. But she then starts to pick up like the law books, doesn't she? Yeah. She starts to get involved and she just plays this massive part in the outcome. There's a scene where, she has to identify a car. She has to identify the make, the model, and then this lawyer's like so dismissive of her, and then he has to accept that she is an expert witness. Yeah.
Because her dad was a mechanic, her two brothers were a mechanic, her mum's dad was a mechanic, her dad's dad was
She just wipes the floor with him, doesn't brilliant. She? So that, just for that whole I'm going to call it, I'm doing it air quotes here, no one can see it, but the defense is wrong scene.
Yeah.
That alone would win her the Oscar. I think she's great. Is that who you picked? Have you picked someone else?
No, I knew, I had a feeling you were going to go for it. Because it's such a standout character and a standout performance. But I really love Judge Chamberlain.
He's great.
I've got down, he's got them lovely southern gentleman manners, but it's the facial expressions he pulls when he sat there and he's like, again, I'm pulling a face that only you can see.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
He plays it so well, and I was just thinking, because I did have a feeling you were going to go for Mr. Tomei, and I just thought he's, when I think of the film, he's one of the first characters I think about straight away. And but to be fair, most of the main characters,
they're all great, aren't they? Yeah. The bit I like with the judge is when Vinny says about when she's on the stand, and he says about treating her as a hostile witness. And he says something like, we're together, and he goes, oh, that explains the hostility. He's just, and like you say, he plays it. He doesn't play it for laughs, does he?
No.
None of it. Like, the faces aren't for laughs, are they? But it's just the way he does it, with, like you said, the tone of his voice as well.
Yes, he's really good.
It's a good shout as the best character.
All right, then, so what about, next question we always go down is favourite scene, or I was going to say episode, but it's not episode because it's the film.
But favourite scene?
Yeah.
There's a few. The two yutes.
You two yutes. Yeah.
The two yutes is funny. And apparently that was a real conversation. So, if you've never seen the film, Joe Pesci's character Vinny is trying to say youths, and the judge keeps thinking he's saying yutes. But apparently that was a real conversation. Joe Pesci and the director Jonathan Lim had that conversation. He kept saying, what do you mean yutes? And they put it in the movie. So I like the fact that they did that. And there's a couple of other real moments as well that weren't in the script. Joe Pesci knocks over the judge's chessboard, doesn't he? And apparently that wasn't part of it, but they kept it in the film. And when Joe Pesci is holding up his fingers, so there's a scene where he's trying to get a little old dear, isn't he, to say how many fingers am I holding up, and someone else says it. So when he does it again, and he says, and only Mrs. Riley, and apparently he ad-libbed that. That wasn't in the... and that's a brilliant moment in the film.
That's my favourite.
Oh, is that your favourite scene? Yeah.
But
that's ad-libbed?
It's just... because it's... He takes the tape measure to the other end. He says, "Okay, then, Mrs. Owen, can you see how many fingers I've got?" And it's Judge Chamberlain goes, "For the record, let it be known he's holding 2 fingers." And then he looks, and then Vinny's like, "Judge," and he's like, for the first time, he's wrong, isn't he? Yeah. The judge has made it, and his face again. It's one of the moments I love Judge Chamberlain, and it's just. And then he goes on for only Mrs. So-and-so. It's great scene.
So the fact that wasn't in the script as well, makes it even better.
But you could see how that could happen. The way it's not. This isn't a great example of it's not played for laughs. It's just how situations could occur that are naturally funny.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with some of those serious films. This is where I know we're going off track here to talk about Succession. Succession is a brilliant show because even in like drama you've got to have funny bits because naturally in life things are funny, aren't they? We've probably been to funerals and you crack a joke and stuff like that. We always, especially I think it is being from Liverpool as well, we tend to find humour in everything really, whether that's to break the ice or just make someone laugh. And I think, as you said, the serious courtroom scenes, but the comedy that's in them works so well, doesn't it?
I'm totally going off on tangents here. Do you remember when John Terry was in court over the Anton Ferdinand situation? And there was a moment that happened where the barrister was asking John Terry a question. He goes, would you say yes or no? And he said, so... Would it be? It was a multiple question, so he just said, "So would it be no 4 times?" As in no. And John Terry got mixed up and just went no. Someone like no one. It was exactly that type of moment. He just didn't get what he was being asked, and he took it the wrong way. And apparently,
everyone laughing.
It was hilarious. But it's what you've just said. It's again going back to what I was saying in the preamble bit. It's such a tense environment, a courtroom.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like,
something like that can just not break the ice, but
but like you can see,
is it nervous laughter as well?
Most
I think
definitely.
that's why I think some dramas, like full-on dramas, are so hard to watch and stuff. But you think like at that moment there would be something, some sort of, someone would make a comment, someone do a joke or whatever.
And you know, without getting into a whole DC MCU, I think why the MCU has been successful is because they do recognise that moments are like, this is just bonkers, and you know what I mean. And Robert Downey Jr. was the voice of like.
And one of the best probably examples of that is we had how many films with Black Widow, and then in the Black Widow movie you have the Florence Pugh character going, "Oh, you're such a poser," making light of it. But my favourite scene, is played for laughs. It is a funny scene. It's when they're both in jail and Vinny turns up for the first time.
God, yeah.
So in the scene, listen, basically Bill's asleep on the bed. Vinny turns up and he tips the prison guard because he just thinks, because he's from New York, so it looks like he's paid off the prison guard to come in. So Stanley thinks basically he's coming in to molest them basically. So he noticed that Bill's asleep and he says to Stanley, so maybe I'll just start with you. And then he says, if I was you, I'd want to get through this with as little as pain as possible. Yeah. And obviously he's talking about the trial and the case, but Stanley doesn't know.
But it's the joke is there, but then it just keeps... The joke just keeps happening. It says, you are royally going to get fucked and all that.
That's it. Because Stanley's like, I don't want to do this. And he even talks about like suicide's a way out. Yeah. But the line that kills me is the line you just said there with Vinny says, it's either me or them, but you're getting fucked either way, one way or another.
It's just like, it's only
really short.
It's the same, but it just keeps getting it's brilliant. Obviously, we love my scene about the two fingers up, but I love each time he gets thrown in contempt of court and it just cuts to Mona Lisa coming to collect him from court, but it's the one at the end afterwards where I think they go, it's the last one, and she goes Vinny's been bailed out again, and he goes, look, I just need some encouragement. And she sarcastically goes, well, you really handled that judge well there, Vinny. And it just cracks me up.
The delivery of it,
yeah, I just think those two, Pesci and Tomei, are just so they were electric together. Absolutely electric.
I'd love to have seen because they obviously must have got Joe Pesci to be paired up with loads of different actresses, I'm sure, and different combinations. And I don't know if he was cast first or she was cast first, but there must be an audition tape somewhere with them two for the first time.
There is an age gap with them, but you could just see that you could see them because they're both personalities. I don't know, although there is an age gap between them, I could see them as a couple, if that makes sense. There was
you never once think why are these together, because it works, doesn't it?
Okay then, so they're your favourite bits. What about music in this one?
So because it's based in Alabama, it's a very country and western soundtrack. The couple of tracks that I've picked out, which I think you should go away and listen to, on YouTube, whatever your choice is, but Get Rhythm from Martin Del Rey is a dead catchy tune, and Way Down South from Josh Turner. They're just dead catchy, like almost pop. The country song with the pop, almost like a pop tunes. But I
think as well, there's the Tammy Wynette one, Stand By Your Man, pops up at some point, Johnny, and I think that obviously the whole story of them as a couple, and she does stand by him. I think.
But if you're ever driving like Route 66 as if from one side of the mountain to another, put on Get Rhythm, put on Way Down South.
Two good tunes. All right then, Dave, what would you change about the film?
So this isn't anything particular about the film itself, really. This is more to do with someone involved with the film. So John Gibbons, who you mentioned before, he plays a character called Austin Pendleton, and he is a stuttering public defender. And what I read was that Pendleton himself stuttered as a child, and then he did recover from it. But during filming, he apparently had really bad memories from his teenage years, and afterwards he said he wasn't happy to even be associated with the character. He did an interview in I think it was 2022, but he said that he felt the role nearly ended his career, and he got angry letters from the people who do have stutters, and he just said he regretted doing the role at all. So that's the element I'd change, because I don't like the idea that you can be in a great movie like that and feel like you don't want to be associated with it. What a shame! Like it's we're doing the film because it's one of my favourite films. So the idea that someone was in it and
had a negative experience,
so I would just change
Didn't
that.
know that. No, it's like I knew.
Change it.
I read somebody did have a stutter, and I think I read he had to be persuaded in the first place to do the film anyway. But he's really good in it, but I didn't know that. That's it.
And really, the character doesn't really need it. Do you know what I mean? It's just you're just adding something for the
that
sake of adding
something. That is a little bit. That's something done for laughs, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. The one bit I will change is from pretty much right at the start when Bill puts the phone down and says, "We've got a lawyer, my cousin Vinny's coming," and it literally cuts to Vinny and Mona pulling up in town first time, and then you get out the car and there's the whole mud scene, and then it cuts to the two kids just going to prison, and I'm like, they drove all the way down to Brooklyn in a matter of...
Oh, so there's a continuity thing.
And then and then they're only just getting into prison, and they've still got the same clothes. It just seems...
I get you.
It's just something... And then there's another scene after they're in prison where they turn up again at the hotel or something like that, and it didn't need that initial scene where I don't know if it was maybe they were meant to be doing in a stop off town or something, but it didn't. It just literally put the phone down. He said, "I've got a cousin, my cousin Vinny," and it cuts to them turning up, and then literally cuts from that to the boys arriving at prison from the police station, and so by then his cousin Vinny has already arrived in town, and that doesn't.
This is my garage scene in City of God last week, and it's just a slight continuity thing. If you'd just put something in there, that little gap, isn't it? That little gap to show actually it's a few days later.
And I've never noticed it before until I watched it last night, and I think it's to do because I'd seen the film, I was being a little bit more critical. I was like, I was like, never noticed that. So I would change that. All right, then what about, what's the legacy? What's the impact of My Cousin Vinny?
So we only had an £11 million budget, which comes back to it being a boss little movie, doesn't it? Made 64 million. But the impact really is that the director, Jonathan Lynn, he's got a law degree from Cambridge University, and lawyers have praised the accuracy. So one quote I found is that it said, the movie is close to reality even in its detail. Part of why the film has such staying power among lawyers is that, unlike, say, A Few Good Men, everything that happens in the movie could happen and often does at trial.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Merrick Garland, who is the current United States Attorney General, he once wrote that Vincent Gambini taught a masterclass in cross-examination. That's coming from him.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of ones which John Marshall, a law school professor, he wrote that Vinny is terrible at things we do teach in law school, but very good at things we don't.
Yeah,
so I like that.
Do you know what? It goes back to the scene where Bill's trying to explain to his friend when he's like, he's not a lawyer, and he says there's that scene where they're at a wedding and the magician comes around, and Vinny's like, no, it's this, it's that, and it's that little bit of a streetwise mentality to question and just pull things apart. You always think lawyers are always like from quite wealthy backgrounds, are like, what's the word, orators, is it, where you can be like, oh, blah blah blah, when actually once someone is, well, that's bullshit, that I'm gonna like, so it's well, it's
the American Bar Association has it as number 3 on the 25 greatest lawyer movies, and bear in mind this is technically a comedy.
It is a comedy, but I've even read that they watch it in law school in America as well for some of them reasons. It is on their list of it is for the detail, which does quite amaze me. All right then, so moving on to the mystery box question.
Ooh.
Right,
I'm
I'm
excited.
gonna. Do you want to dip your hand?
I'll dip in. I'm gonna go this one. No, that one. I'm changing my mind. I'm going with that one.
Right.
You can open it.
Okay. Right, Dave. Recast this movie with any of the cast from Friends.
With any of the cast from Friends.
So you got 6. Any of the 6 from... Which is funny because we've already got the Friends.
Oh, really
link.
good. Okay, it's a really good question. I'm
So
gonna...
think about who would you... I'll tell you what.
Who do you want me to start with?
Do Vinny.
So...
And don't even have to go male, female either.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do a role reversal because I'm gonna go with. I'm probably gonna go with Monica as Vinny.
Oh.
Because she's quite detailed, isn't
Tenacious.
she? Tenacious. Yeah. When it comes to the cooking,
Yeah.
and the cleanliness and stuff. So I think she would pick out. She would be a good lawyer, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
And obviously she's a good actress as well, isn't she? I might change my mind. I'll go initially with Monica would be Vinny, which then would make probably Joey would then have to be the Mona Lisa character. Wouldn't he?
Just literally as you said
You
that
think of the
across
same.
my mind, yeah.
Joey would have to be the Marissa Tomei character, wouldn't
And
he?
his
Where you
speci-
think he's
His
stupid
speciality
and-
would be sandwiches or something like that.
yeah. So it would have to be someone killed by a sandwich, yeah. So yeah, Joey would be, Matt LeBlanc would be that character then. I think David Schwimmer would be the judge,
Yeah.
wouldn't he? Chandler would be the other attorney, the one that cross-examines them. Phoebe would be the sheriff, who initially arrests the boys and then turns out he helps them
Yeah,
out, doesn't
yeah,
he?
that's
He
right, yeah.
goes away to find, he
Yeah.
finds out there was another car, doesn't he? So that only leaves, who's that leave? Rachel.
Yeah.
So Rachel would have to be one of the two accused. She'd have to be the Ralph Macchio character,
Yeah,
wouldn't she?
that's all right.
Yeah, so yeah, Jennifer Aniston would play Bill, and it'd be
The accused,
the accused,
Yeah.
and yeah, it'd be her cousin. So you'd reverse all the roles, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd
Well, maybe
even-
what it'd be is Lisa Kudrow and Jennifer Aniston would be the two arrested for the murder. Monica would be Vinny coming in as the judge. Joey would be the boyfriend of Vinny. I think Swimmer is the judge and Chandler is the prosecutor.
I would quite possibly swap Schwimmer as the prosecutor and Chandler as the judge. Could he be any more judgy? I don't know.
I just think Swimmer's more serious though,
Yeah.
and I think the judge needs to be serious as well. But I know where you're coming from. I think he's got more of the facial expression.
Yeah.
But so does David Schwimmer.
Yeah,
you haven't seen Intelligence yet, have you? It's
No.
called Intelligence.
No,
isn't
yeah,
it? Which has got Nate from Ted Lasso in. It's such a good show, you know, and he tries to play it straight, but it's more like Leslie Nielsen.
Yes.
It's more like that.
Okay.
Where he's trying to be the straight man, but he is actually hilarious.
All right then. So what about where can you watch it?
So if you've got a Disney Plus subscription, you can watch it on Disney Plus. But if you don't, you can get it for less than a £5 on YouTube. You can watch it on Google, and it's on Amazon Prime as well.
Brilliant. And then we always, when we come to this section of the podcast, we always go with what else, if you like this, what else would you like? I'm going to start this time is I picked a few for the courtroom vibe, and obviously there's a courtroom. It's almost a genre, courtroom, but I think courtroom comedies is not as many to pick from. I picked Liar Liar.
Yeah, I put Liar Liar.
Yeah, I think anything. I just love Jim King and Legally Blonde.
Yes, I didn't have that.
Yeah. Is a big one, and a bit of a fish out of a water one as well. So it's a little bit. And then I've got the prison theme, which I thought they downplayed the whole prison aspect. In fact, going back to another bit about if what would they do again? I think almost the two accused didn't really have much of a part in the film at all. and I didn't really get their peril in prison. The stakes weren't high. Do you know what I mean?
No, we don't really see them once in there, don't we?
Yeah. But anyway, so prison movies, I'd always go to Stir Crazy.
Yeah.
I just think it's just a great film. And then, because we mentioned before, it's a fish out of water. A couple of ones I've picked out around, and I've gone for Back to the Future is obviously the first one, because he goes back to the 50s and he's a little bit out of his depth. Groundhog Day. And then that's a boss little movie, because he's a bit of a fish out of water.
Yeah, true, yeah. It's looking at the similar story, he's stuck in a town, with everyone around.
Big. Tom Hanks, because he's a kid in an adult's world, so that one's for him. And then the next one is definitely an out and out fish out of water, Sister Act.
Yes.
A very similar time you were both made as well. I think that was the one I thought, yeah. If you liked this, you would like Sister Act.
Yeah. Definitely. I've gone with two topics, really. I've gone with just pure courtroom dramas. So we mentioned A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
We love Rob Reiner, don't we?
Oh.
Also in that, Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah.
Who was in Stand By Me.
Yeah. And Young Guns.
Another link. The Trial of Chicago 7, which is on Netflix, which has got Jeremy Strong, who is Kendall in Succession. We always try and throw Succession in when we can. Erin Brockovich.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with Julia Roberts, who is also in an episode of Friends.
She is, yes.
Which you just mentioned. Runaway Jury with John Cusack.
Oh, yeah.
Who was in Grosse Pointe Blank, in Stand By Me. When I say Runaway Jury, though, that's not to be confused with The Rural Juror. That's a fake film that was in 30 Rock. So, if you've never heard of that, you should watch that episode of 30 Rock.
Fair enough.
Primal Fear with Richard Gere and Ed Norton. Time to Kill, another Matthew McConaughey film. I know you mentioned Lincoln Lawyer. And currently, it's on season 2 at the moment, but Perry Mason with Matthew Rhys is courtroom based as well. So they're my courtroom dramas. But my other theme or topic is serious actors in comedies.
I love this. I think this is a great topic.
Joe Pesci, obviously, won the Oscar for
not now we found out he was a comedian. I didn't know he was a comedian before he was an actor.
No.
So
and obviously Home Alone is is an out and out sort of comedy as well, isn't it?
No,
and other things.
You say Joe Pesci, you think of Goodfellas.
You do. You think serious actor, don't you? He has done other comedies like Gone Fishing as well and stuff like that. But the ones I picked out is obviously De Niro in Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers, and Dustin Hoffman was in Meet the Fockers. And you think of Dustin Hoffman as, I know he did Tootsie and stuff, but he's, in my head, he's a serious actor, isn't he? De Niro also did Analyse This and Analyse That with Billy Crystal, but James Caan in Elf.
Of course, yes.
Again, serious actor. Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder, as Les Grossman. Tom Cruise very rarely does. I know there's comedy elements in the Mission Impossible films, but I don't think he's done out and out sort of comedies like that. And then a couple of others, again, not really known for his comedy, but Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean. That's a comedic role, isn't it? That is almost a Bugs Bunny role, isn't it? And then Jeff Bridges in Big Lebowski, because you think of Jeff before Lebowski. Jeff Bridges was your serious actor, wasn't it? So they're my two themes. I've gone with courtroom dramas, and I've gone with people who are generally known for being in serious movies.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Dave. That was Dave's choice this week of My Cousin Vinny. Watch it if you can.
Follow us on Instagram at watch_it_podcast, or on Twitter at watch_it_pod.
Join us for all our previous episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Podbean and Amazon Music.